Hi everyone, it's Han and I'm here with Pieter Robben. And Pieter Robben works with American certification body, which is active in the field of EMC and radio testing. Pieter, maybe you can say a few words about your company. And we will discuss today the list of European harmonized standards that was just published last week for the Radio Equipment Directive, and that contains at least one and a few standards I think that are worthwhile looking into. So first of all, Pieter, welcome. Thank you for making yourself available on such short notice. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about American certification body. What kind of organization is that?
Thank you, Han, for the introduction. My name is Pieter Robben. I work for American Certification Body located in the USA. And American Certification Body is a notified body for the RED Directive, EMC Directive and the new Radio Equipment Directive. Mm-hmm. Aside from that, we are also a telecommunication certification body for the US, for the FCC, mm-hmm. and also a foreign certification body for Canada. And we also are a certification body for Japan and for Hong Kong, mm-hmm. which is the latest addition to our qualifications as certification body.
Okay, that's good to hear. So basically you are assisting companies that manufacture electronic products with or without radio functions to get certifications for the different markets.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Yeah. Now, Pieter, I think that you've seen the latest publication, the latest list of the published by the European Commission for the list of harmonized standards for the Radio Equipment Directive. Now, we've seen in the last few months, we've seen that the Commission has published several of these lists, and obviously we were comparing these lists with the list that they had published under the RED Directive to see how they compare and whether certain essential standards were on them. And for a long time, some of the essential standards were not on them. So how significant is this latest publication by the European Commission?
It is significant, and just because of one standard, which is the EN 300-328, mm-hmm. and this standard is commonly used for Bluetooth Low Energy and Wi-Fi devices, mm-hmm. Operating in a 2.4 gigahertz band. Everybody was anticipating the publication of this standard because obviously there are a lot of products making use of this technology. Mm-hmm. So now it's finally here. The majority of the standards which are currently on the list of harmonized standards for the Radio Equipment Directive are focusing mostly on maritime equipment, medical equipment, mm-hmm. Land mobile equipment, satellite earth station equipment. So unfortunately there are not too many of the so-called popular standards mm-hmm. which are currently harmonized for the Radio Equipment Directive. Mm-hmm. Standards such as the EN 300-220, EN 300-440 and EN 300-330 have not yet been published as a harmonized standard for the Radio Equipment Directive.
Okay, and what does that mean? That correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it means that we still are in a transition period with the RED Directive. Until later this year, I believe just before the summer, the transition period ends. And would it still be possible for these manufacturers to use the RED Directive and use those standards?
Yes, you can use the RED Directive until June 12, 2017. Mm-hmm. And that's closer than everybody thinks, yeah. Because the issue is with the Radio Equipment Directive that all the new standards do contain additional testing requirements. Okay. When compared to the standards under the RED Directive.
Okay, which additional testing is that?
In terms of radio, it's mostly testing of receivers. Mm-hmm. Back in 2000, when the RED Directive came into force, the majority of the standards did no longer contain any receiver testing. Okay. because it was anticipated that the quality of the receiver would be controlled by the manufacturer themselves.
Okay.
However, apparently there have been several issues where bad receivers compromised the communication links, and therefore such equipment does not meet essential requirements in terms of efficiently using the frequency spectrum. In order to get this under control, all the standards which are now published on the Radio Equipment Directive do contain receiver test sheets. And so it's not really a smooth one-on-one transition between the RED Directive and the Radio Equipment Directive.
Okay.
You really have to do something to make sure that you comply with the latest version of the standards. And although the standards are not harmonized yet, they are available for download, and in some cases early drafts or drafts are available for download, so that manufacturers can prepare themselves and either use these draft documents to start testing, or at least get familiar with the changes in the standards.
You said that, well, now we have the 303.28, which is important and significant for any manufacturer that uses 2.8 gigahertz Wi-Fi or Bluetooth technology in their products, which I think there are a lot of products, or more and more products using wireless technologies. So for them it is significant. But even if these other significant standards that you mentioned are not on the list yet, it is high time for manufacturers to start preparing, because the end of the transition period from RNTT to RED is coming.
It's also our understanding that the problem will not be as much in the availability of standards and documents. Test labs also may have capacity problems. Because the end of the transition period is really in June, and there will be no further delays, and everybody has to be ready, because the Radio Equipment Directive will apply to any product which passes the border of the EU after June 12, 2017. And since additional testing is required, it's best to start as early as possible to make sure that you actually get your testing done before the transition date.
You indicated that these standards, in principle, these standards are already available. They are published by ETSI, which publishes their standards on the website. So I think they're free for download.
Yes, they are free for download. Everybody can download them. There's no subscription or whatever needed for that. You just go to www.etsy.org, and then you can, at the top of the page, you can enter a standard number, click the button to the standards, and then hit search, and then they will produce a list of the standards you're looking for. They can be downloaded. Most of these can be used. Some of these standards are really at the end of the whole negotiation process between all the parties involved. It is possible, obviously, that there may be some slight changes over time, but the majority of these documents, which are just waiting to be published in the official journal, are good enough to be used by a manufacturer to prove their conformity with Articles 3.2 and 3.1b of the Radio Equipment Directive.
Do you expect these other standards to be published on a list by the European Commission soon?
Well, currently it's very difficult to predict when exactly such standards will be published. However, there's a lot of pressure from the manufacturers at this moment to make sure that as many standards are available as harmonized standards before the end of the transition period. The reason is that it is mandatory to obtain an EU type examination certificate from a notified body if a standard for Article 3.2 so the efficient use of the radio spectrum, if it's not published as a harmonized standard for the Radio Equipment Directive.
Okay.
And if it's not published, it's not harmonized.
And then you have to go to a notified body.
Yes. And if there's only a handful of standards on that list, you can understand that a lot of manufacturers will need to invest a substantial amount of money and time to get everything done on time. So that only applies to the radio standard. It's not mandatory to go to a notified body for either safety or EMC if you use a non-harmonized standard. It does not provide a presumption of conformity if you do not go to a notified body, but it is not mandatory to go to a notified body.
Yes. Yeah.
So the notified body can limit its review to only the radio part. Nevertheless, if you are a manufacturer who produces hundreds of products, it's still a lot of work to get everything done before June.
All right, very clear. So I think that manufacturers who are using wireless technologies in their product need to be aware that something has changed. If you're using 2.4 gigahertz wireless technologies in your products, and even if you buy Bluetooth modules off the shelf, this is something that you need now to look at. We will probably, I agreed with Pieter already that we will do maybe an additional video recording going into the question of how to deal with situations where you buy wireless modules off the shelf, because it's not so simple as buying the module and taking the declaration of conformity for that. But as I said, we'll go into that in another video. Perhaps you have questions about, how significant are these changes for my products. If you want to know more about the CE requirements for your products, whether you need testing, whether you need a notified body, etc., please do contact us. We just go to our website cemarking.net /start and fill out the form, and then we'll help you to determine which directives and which standards apply. If you have questions for Pieter, I will put a link to your to the website and maybe to your email address below this video, so people can contact you directly. Is there anything that you would like to note for the viewers?
Yes, the Radio Equipment Directive does have a number of substantial changes compared to the RED Directive. And I would advise anyone to take notice of any guidance documents, although most of these are still in draft, and read the directive very carefully, because the Radio Equipment Directive does impose a lot of additional requirements on manufacturers and also on anyone further up in the supply chain, such as importers and distributors. There are all formal obligations defined in the context of radio equipment for all the involved economic operators, as they call them. So I would really suggest read the directive very carefully. There's a lot of additional requirements which somebody may not expect to be in there.
I think it is time for viewers that manufacture equipment that currently is tested in accordance with the the RNTT directive. So that's 9099/05/EC. If this is the number that is on your declaration of conformity, you need to take some action. Go into your technical files. It's quite clear that some of the testing may need to be updated. Maybe some additional testing may need to be done. And for sure, you need to update your declaration of conformity and technical file. So if you do have questions about this, just let us know. Pieter, for now, thank you very much. Hope to talk with you soon about the changes in the Radio Equipment Directive, or the changes going from the RNTT to the RED, and the additional testing that is required. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you for this opportunity to clarify some issues about this.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.